Welcome to Tiffany Meyer Tonight. Meta reaching a landmark settlement with a bipartisan group of 52 attorneys general over claims its platforms harmed young people. The social media giant agreeing to pay up to $18 billion and make new changes to Facebook and Instagram. The proposed deal cutting short a federal trial in California just over a week after it began. 29 states suing Meta in 2023, accusing the company of designing features to keep children and teens locked in. The states pointing to algorithmic recommendations, frequent notifications, and endless scrolling. They also allege Meta misled the public about risks to young people and collected data from kids under 13 without parental consent. Meta denying its platforms harm children and not admitting wrongdoing as part of the settlement.
Meta was telling parents everywhere that their top concern was the safety of their children, and it wasn't. Their top concern was making a buck, and they did it while ignoring the risks that they were creating for those children.
The agreement adding new default protections for users ages 13 to 17.
Meta has agreed to make significant changes that will reduce the risk of harm that Instagram and Facebook pose to teen users. Daily time limits and blocks on nighttime use that can only be lifted by a parent, limits on notifications during school hours and overnight, an end to displaying the number of likes on a teen's post, a ban on plastic surgery filters, enhanced detection and removal of kids under 13 from these platforms, and more.
In a statement, Meta says in part, today we are announcing an agreement with a bipartisan group of 52 attorneys general across U.S. states, territories, and the District of Columbia, building on our longstanding efforts to empower parents and support teens. Ensuring teens have a safe and productive experience on our platforms is an absolute imperative for Meta. We want to get this right for parents and teens, and that's why we partnered with state attorneys general to set a new industry standard. The company urging rivals to adopt similar safety measures. The settlement, a fraction of Meta's $201 billion in revenue last year. And joining us now is Donna Rice Hughes, president and CEO of Enough is Enough. For more than 3 decades, Donna has been on the front lines of efforts to make the internet safer for children and families. Donna, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you back. Now, the settlement was a fraction of what the states sued for, but Attorney General Rob Bonta is calling this a no-compromise settlement in terms of all the restrictions that Meta is agreeing to roll out for young users. Donna, as someone who's worked on a lot of policy in this vein, are these new features a win?
Well, they're definitely a win. They are a step in the right direction. So that's great news. But we need to go much further. And as the Meta spokesperson said, this just applies to Instagram and Facebook. So what we really need to also see is a wake-up call for the rest of the industry, for industry standards. And what groups like Enough is Enough have been calling for a very long time is safety by design. Because these platforms, whether it's social media or gaming platforms, they were not designed for kids' safety. They were designed for profits and keeping kids and youth on their site and keeping them there for as long as possible, collecting their data, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a great paradigm shift direction, but we need more.
And do you think it's significant that with this settlement, Meta has not admitted to any wrongdoing?
Well, that's part of the negotiation. So of course, um, we know whistleblowers have exposed what Meta knew. In this case, in the New Mexico trial, where Meta was fined over 900 millions of dollars, not just for the design features, but for knowing that kids were getting sexually exploited on their website and hiding that. So there's a lot that Meta has known and that they have covered up. So the chickens have come to roost. That is a good thing. And this is a watershed moment, really, for children and families. But like I said, it doesn't go far enough. We really need legislation in place to set industry standards where there are safety by design features in place. The defaults are all turned to the safest, strictest parental control measures available. And one biggie is that there's age verification in place because the privacy laws actually, you can't have children under 13 on these websites, but these companies have not put verification in place, age verification technologies. And we want to see that happen also industry wide. Now, that has already happened in Florida and also in other countries like Australia and many other nations. So the companies can certainly implement that technology. They've got it, it's right at their fingertips. But we need to, again, we need to flip the switch and we need to see a paradigm because kids are dying. And if they're not dying, because of what's happening on these platforms and not just the addictive mental health issues. It's the fact that these platforms are doors to sexual predators, traffickers, pornographers, child pornographers. In fact, there was just a recent report that came out that said that there's an estimated 300 million children globally that were sexually exploited last year or this past year. So this is
And
an
as
exploding pandemic. Yeah, and it's big and it's huge, and no child is immune. So there's just we've got to really treat this as the war that it is. And I would say that this is a battle that we won today, but we've got some more battles to fight because we want to win the war to protect our kids.
And as a settlement, this has no precedential value, but Meta is a major industry player and is already calling on other platforms to implement similar restrictions. Let's actually take a listen to that.
Our new time limit commitments, night mode features, and usage limits during school hours set the right path forward for our whole industry. But this framework will only work if all our peers join us. Because teens move fluidly across dozens of apps, we need an industry-wide solution. We therefore call on our industry peers, TikTok and YouTube, to implement this new framework right away.
Now, Meta is also saying that about 30% of the settlement money will only be paid if TikTok and YouTube pay matching funds. Given the string of legal losses tech companies are facing recently on this front and growing awareness of what these platforms are capable of, do you think social media platforms are ready to accept these features as the new normal?
Well, I certainly hope so because they're paying a big price if they don't. And that is certainly, Mark Zuckerberg realizes this. And like I said, these are easy fixes for these big multi-billion dollar companies to implement. And so if they had done this to begin with, I mean, at least well over a decade ago, children would have been safer. Big tech's bottom line would have been better. And it would have just been a win-win. So I hope they're getting the message loud and clear that, while bills are sitting in Congress and there's at least a dozen in the Senate right now that takes a little bite out of the danger elephant that's in the room where kids are being harmed to put better controls around keeping kids safe online. So if they can actually move the needle themselves, that would be great. In fact, I was just talking to a Meta spokesperson today, and I said, look, wouldn't it be great if Meta just goes the extra mile right now beyond what they've agreed to do in this settlement and really lead on this? But, no one stepped up to the plate yet, but I do agree that TikTok and all of them, Google, Roblox, all the gaming platforms too, because they're all gateways to the criminals that are preying on our kids, right? So these are things that need to be done, and it is really big tech's big tobacco season. It's not a moment. This is a season. And like you said, I've been doing this for 30 years, and it's about time, and the momentum is with us, with congressional efforts, with these jury verdicts, and now with Meta settling. And I would say they got by with a penance of what this could have been. So good for them for settling and moving the needle in the right direction and doing the right thing. They need to do that, and it's about time.
Now, most of the safety features in question will be on by default for those under 18, and some involve parental action. Now, as a longtime internet safety advocate, what is your advice to parents when it comes to understanding how social media affects teens and children?
Well, parents still need to be the first line of defense. No one can parent your child, but parents should not have to shoulder the entire burden. They just simply can't. So if you've got one child with a gaming platform and a laptop and a smartphone, and they're on 5 apps, you've got to go and you've got to turn everything on yourself. That is just a ridiculous amount of pressure to put on parents. So, first of all, parents, your child's not immune. Good children, smart children are being harmed and even dying. And learn what to do. Sign up for our website at Internet Safety 101. We have got free resources, guides, tutorials to keep your kids safe from pornography, traffickers, AI chat companions, you name it, it is there. We'll keep you updated on everything that's happening as far as the courts and Congress. But at the end of the day, you're the steward of your children, and also just recognize that there are really bad people, really dangerous people who want to harm your kids and your children. We want to protect their innocence as much as you do. So we're here to help at Enough is Enough. And again, the website is internetsafety101.org.
Well, Donna Rice Hughes, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.